Enterprise Management 360.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Tech Chat. Now, on today's episode, I'm going to be speaking with Ben Schein, who is the Vice President of Data Curiosity at Domo. So Ben, thank you very much for coming on this episode.
Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome, and obviously long-time viewers of Tech Chat know we're doing this a little bit differently at the moment for everything that's going on, and that's one of the reasons that Ben is here today. So he's going to be introducing us to Domo's new free resource platform, which helps anyone see and understand COVID-19 data. Now, in particular, we're going to explore how the resources enables organizations to make critical decisions during this crisis that's going on at the moment. So the first kind of lead-off question here, Ben, is it would be great if you could give us an overview of how the platform works and what your role has been in building it.
I've been really involved in this specific project, sort of on the data pipeline and how do we leverage the Domo platform to sort of wade through all the complexity and to maybe bring a little bit of data curiosity to how we're looking at things. My background prior to joining Domo almost 2 years ago was I worked for 10 years at Target Corporation, the $70-80 billion retailer here in the United States. And so I was involved there in using Domo often for Black Friday and Thanksgiving and all those kinds of things. And it's actually sort of been invigorating for me to sort of get back into the weeds a little bit. My role now is sort of a data culture and data pipeline structure evangelist, which is a lot of fun, but sometimes is at a level outside of the data. And so I was able to really plug in fairly early as we were exploring this idea of how do we bring data together, how do we make it current and relevant and interesting and value add for the public and for our customers and for anyone who really needs this kind of information. Our platform is sort of designed for this kind of a situation, right? We talk about our platform, about BI leverage at cloud scale and record time, right? And that's the core value proposition of what we try to do as an organization and sort of the culture change and the data curiosity that I try to help our customers get to within their organizations. And so much of that has to do with flexibility and being able to bring different kinds of data, cleanse it quickly, pivot, make changes. And so I've been able to help with some of that data strategy and thinking about how do we not just, clean the data, get it available, but also structure it in ways that let us be more creative around how we look at information.
Excellent. And I love the design of it as well. It's very clean. It's very easy to understand. So from a business perspective, when we're talking about this, how can businesses really take advantage of the platform for support when they're making such critical business decisions at the moment?
So I think there's a few pieces of it. So obviously, we mentioned this as a public, a free resource that's available to anyone to embed via iframe or whatnot. And so just in terms of being able to have better, more accurate, more interactive information, right? People need to engage in the data in a way that makes sense to them. But then also with sort of our broader customer base who are using the platform, the Domo platform for their day-to-day business, really, I think the power that I've seen in a lot of, my role has been not just sort of cleansing the data, but then how do we make sure that data is then made available to our customers, right? So if I am a large retailer or a fitness club or a health insurance company or a hospital company in the Midwest, all those are people who we've been talking to over the last couple of weeks who are able to take that data and then blend it quickly with their core business metrics, right? Whether it's, number of hospital beds they have or, which stores are opening or which health clubs are going to reopen when or can they reopen and just continue to sort of layer on that nuance.
Yeah, for sure. It's such an important resource. As you mentioned, it's something that people are going to rely on and check. And I think data in itself is one of the best defenses that we have against this from a preventative measure. We need the data to understand when lockdowns can end, when countries are going to be in a better state to relax procedures or in fact increase procedures. So from that angle, it's a very important element to have.
And certainly to model in the right way as we look at, there's a lot of debate around how transparent and accurate the data from China is, or if we start looking at Italy or other countries, like how can we have some very large, CPG customers who are looking at those other countries to try to model what does their capacity look like in North America, in Europe, in Asia, as people go along those curves. And so we've lost. I talk a lot like we've sort of lost the idea of a baseline, right? A baseline is so key in certain industries and key in data science and analytics. And so if we don't have that, we have to take whatever new information we have and then continually learn from what we see. Okay, well, in Italy, a month out from their peak of death rate, how did they start buying shampoo again or whatever it is, right? So we can those things.
Yeah, for sure. And it's interesting to kind of, as you say, have this new baseline model because, organizations have become so accustomed to using data to drive that business success and move it forward. So not many have kind of considered, as we've been speaking about, what it can do in these events that are pretty much unprecedented from this standpoint. So how do you think data is going to emerge from this outbreak? Is it going to have a new legacy around it, or how are we really going to approach it moving forward?
No, I mean, I think, like I said, this is sort of that inflection point that I think will shake people a little bit to realize that inflexible, heavily engineered, things that take months to add a column, that's not the reality of the world we live in, right? That these kinds of drastic changes can happen. And so, I often talk about, especially as we've been promoting this idea of BI leverage, right? Which is, how do I, take existing investments in tools, in people, in knowledge, and the history I have in a business, and really leverage that up. And I think in the past, in sort of the analytics space, what we would do is we would be very focused on just meeting requirements, right? And some of this is just a general waterfall versus agile or whatever. But so you'd say, I have all these engineers, I'm going to solve this one thing, I'm going to get to a list of requirements, and then I'm done. But the reality is those requirements have to constantly change. So what you have to do is create a platform that allows for flexibility and innovation and empowerment of more than just a subset of engineers, because again, I don't have enough engineers. And that's something I've been saying, probably in the 2 years since I've joined Domo, is a lot of, and it doesn't matter. I mean, obviously I work for a software vendor. In some ways I think it matters, but in some ways it doesn't matter which software product you are if you don't have that mentality that things are going to change and how do I empower people. Even if you have a flexible platform like a Domo, like you need to be ready culturally for that. And so I think what this has done is sort of shock people a little bit into some of those cultural changes that often would stop, right? So people are like, well, no, it needs to be requirements driven, or, oh no, we need to, always engineer everything and only an engineer can do A, B, and C. This has sort of forced people to reevaluate some of those decisions and some of those underpinning sort of cultural assumptions in ways that maybe they haven't before.
Perfect. I think that is the key takeaway there, flexibility. And it'd be interesting to see, maybe we should have a conversation after all of this is done to see what changes are happening and where we're kind of going in the future. But Ben, I think it's a fantastic platform, and you guys should be very proud of what you've kind of put together there. For people viewing, where's the best place that they can gain access to this data? If you could link the site for them.
If you Google Domo Coronavirus Tracker, it will come up. We're actually in the middle of doing some upgrades to the site in terms of navigation, also adding some ability to do email alerting. So you could sign up for your country or your US states and get an email every night that just says, here's what happened, here's what changed. So we're continuing to push that envelope, both to highlight what we can do as a platform, but again, like how do we help people get information that's useful to them, that helps them, deal with the craziness that's everything from my kids in the basement right now to, changing business environment. So we'll continue to push out different content and new metrics, new understanding that will help people wade through this.
Yeah, exactly. And it's an important element, an important resource to have. So we'll also include the link down below. So make sure you go check that out. Ben, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me today. It's been great.
Thank you for taking the time, everyone. Please be safe.
Of course. And yes, thank you everyone for joining us. Check out the link below to find out the resources. And of course, make sure you head on over to em360tech.com for more great content. Now, just before you go, I wanted to let you know about an online event coming up. The XR Immersive Enterprise 2020 is happening from the 5th to the 7th of May. With over 40 confirmed speakers, one-to-one meeting and networking services, full audience interactivity, and a digital exhibition, this is one online event you won't want to miss. So head on over to the link below in the description and register for free now.